Remember me in a Bible cracked and faded by the years. Remember me in a sanctuary filled with silent prayer. Remember me. Remember me when the color of a sunset fills the sky. Remember me when you pray and tears of joy fall from your eyes. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I remembered you. Remember me. Remember me when the children leave their Sunday school with smiles. Remember me when they're old enough to teach, old enough to preach, old enough to leave. At age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I remembered you.
behalf of my family, please accept my gratitude for being here today in remembrance of my father, Norman Balagtas. Thank you, friends and family, both near and far, for joining in community and for holding us up in spirit. He would have been so happy to see this gathering of lives whom he has impacted, as much as you, I'm sure, have impacted his. Our thanks to Father Milari for his ministry and for leading us in prayer. Thank you also to Linda Ng and Jennifer Poren for the beautiful music that my dad himself used to play in this very church. Much of what I wanted to share with you and with Dad, I have already expressed yesterday at his wake. It is my hope that those words have touched you and have afforded some insight into what his generosity, kindness, and dedication personally meant to his firstborn son. At this moment, before we commit his body from ashes to ashes, I would like to tell you how, in part, I will remember my dad in my day-to-day life. For instance, whenever I would hear the original Superman theme song, I will remember the time Dad patiently spent teaching that tune to my brother and me when I was 5 years old. Whenever I eat scrambled eggs, I'll find myself craving his delicious kapapanang-style eggs. Whenever I pray the rosary, I will remember how his devout faith impelled him to pray each Wednesday to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Whenever I happen to play Words with Friends, I will remember his stories of falling in love with my mother over games of Scrabble. Whenever I pass through a McDonald's drive-thru, I will chuckle to myself on how he would intentionally mispronounce the menu to make me laugh, especially when I was down about something. Whenever I need to park in a tight space, I will hear his assuring and gentle instructions on tips to maneuver the car properly. Whenever my 2-year-old daughter reaches her arms out to be carried, I remember that childlike and pure joy I received from his piggyback rides up and down the National Mall and the National Zoo. Above all, as the years go by in raising my children, I will fondly remember his inspired fatherhood. As we continue to celebrate the life of Norman Balagtas, I ask how you will remember my father in your daily routine. Whatever those memories may be, I imagine they will be filled with the kind of love Jesus intended for his Father's creation. My dad truly practiced a living faith that was continually made new in every single one of his relationships. Dad saw the divine in everything and in everyone, and devoted his life in helping others see what he saw. I know that without question, Dad's shared vision has imprinted upon our perceptions on what matters most in life. He was an extraordinary gift from God, as I'm sure our memories will reflect. Dad, I cannot adequately express in words how grateful I am for the memories that we've created together. I will cherish them forever and will carry them close to my heart through all my journeys. I love you, Dad. Thank you for continuing to be with me, always.
I'd like to extend my thanks as well to everyone for being here, just helping to put my dad to rest. It's not easy saying goodbye, but just looking at everyone's faces out here, I feel like I can do it. I've never known anyone in my life like my dad. He had an inhuman capacity to love others. When I was younger, I found it bothersome and maybe a bit embarrassing, but he wore me down eventually. As I got a bit older, I noticed how truly special my dad was in comparison to the rest of the world. I have never experienced his brand of compassion and kindness in any other human being I have encountered. He would literally give you his last dollar and the shirt off his back if he felt you needed it. Those of you who knew my dad knew that about him. Whether he was trying to force feed you or give you money, my dad always gave. Even when he had nothing to give, he found a way. He was always trying to make the world a better place. I remember the many times he stopped his car and pulled over to remove some debris off the road, even if it was decaying roadkill, he didn't care. I remember how he could never refuse anyone who was out on the streets begging for money. I remember how he always caved in to what his kids wanted. I remember him letting me sleep in his bed with him when I was scared. I remember the sting of his stubble when he kissed me. I remember how the sound of his snoring made me feel safe at night, and he was a loud snore. I remember how he looked like he had won the lottery every time I accomplished anything, no matter how big or small. I remember a man who I was proud to call my dad. We've had our issues and drama, of course, and my father has had his share of troubles and then some in his life, but what strikes me the most right now isn't any of that. It's his capacity to love and his capacity to grow love in others. I think of my mom. My mom stuck with my father through thick and thin, through countless hard times, and has never once abandoned him. When many others would have walked away, my mom stayed. Mom, Dad can't talk right now, but I know he would say, "Thank you, baby. I will always love you." I think of my Uncle Junior, who has been my father's primary caregiver for these last 5 years. Within decades, I can honestly say that my dad has been at his happiest and best with my Uncle Junior. And it's given me such a joy to watch the bond that they formed together. My dad, thank you. Thank you for ensuring my dad didn't die lonely or alone. Uncle Junior, thank you. My father always gave his best and drew the best out of those around him. We all spend a lot of time worrying about our futures, about going to work, making money, or whatever it is. All that stuff is certainly important, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. My dad put all his eggs in the right basket. He chose the right thing. He chose love. He loved you unashamedly and unconditionally. He had a heart after God's own heart. I have never once doubted his love for me. He used to tease me all the time. He'd say, "Michael, you remember when you were younger and you got into trouble?" You know what you would say? He'd say, "I want daddy, I want daddy." I'd come running. I used to get in trouble with my mom a lot when I was younger. But you see, I always knew that my dad could never stay mad at me. I always knew he was the safe place I could run to and take shelter. I always knew he loved me. That's really all I have to say, except something I wish I had said a lot more when he was alive. I love you so much, Dad. I miss you. I want my daddy. I want daddy.
Thank you, each and every one of you, for coming and supporting our family during this difficult time. Most of all, I'm very grateful to my sister-in-law, Benny, for her love patience, and dedication given to my brother Norman. Likewise to Junior, his brother-in-law, who for 5 years took care of him, and they became very close to each other, became like brothers and sisters. Very humble, kind, very generous, very respectful. In fact, he will spare his last dime for someone in need. That's my brother Norman. I will always love you. Your children, your brothers, sisters, your nieces and nephews. Norman, I'm very proud of you for your dedication to the family, loving the children, loving the love for the pro-life, and the children in need. I'm also proud that you had carried the legacy of our father, the grandfather and father, for your kindness and generosity. So long, my dear little brother, I will always remember your sweet smile forever. Farewell, my dear little brother. Till we meet again, we love you.
Before we go our separate ways, let us leave our brother Norman. May our farewell express our affection for him. May it ease our sadness and strengthen our hope. One day we shall joyfully greet him again, when the love of Christ, which conquers all things, destroy even death itself.